Hi, my name is Dutchy, and I hate platformers. 2D, 3D, first person, whatever. Now, I know that just saying that will upset people to their core, but please, allow me to explain. Looking around at my video essay peers, I'm obviously the youngest of the bunch. Because of that, I think it should be noted that I didn't grow up with 2D or 3D platformers. My childhood was filled with first and third person shooters, with the occasional story game thrown into the mix too. That isn't to say that I didn't play any platformers. There was Mario 64, as well as the Super Mario games for both the Wii and the DS, but for the most part, it was often just Halo or Call of Duty, with Mass Effect, Dragon Age, and Pokemon being thrown in too. I guess it's because I didn't grow up with the Marios, the Crash Bandicoots, Sonics, Banjo-Kazooies, and other fan favorites that defined many childhoods that I don't enjoy them as much. I don't have the nostalgia of mastering jumps and collecting things. On a recent stream, I decided to give Hollow Knight a chance, and I genuinely hated every second of it. It's not friendly to newer players, especially those who aren't used to playing 2D platformers, and also fails to give you a clear objective, or even a tutorial. What made it so much worse was the asshole in the stream that just kept saying that watching me was cancer, and that all I needed to do is get good. However, as much as I used my large gamer vocabulary to try to explain to this guy that I don't play platformers, I just continued to get responses that I was doing everything wrong. No support, no advice, nothing. It's the stigma of being bad at certain games that tends to annoy me, as people can't seem to teach other people how to play. It's this gatekeeping behavior that drives me and others away from games like platformers. And hell, while we're at it, Souls-like games as well. This idea that you need to get good at a game in order to truly experience it is one that I find pretentious in this community. Yes, I am someone who believes that more games should have difficulty options for people, as I find exclusivity to be something that doesn't benefit people from enjoying games. It just keeps them out of them. It's also frustrating that there's a mindset that certain players have a sort of superiority for beating a hard game X or Y. Not everyone has the time, ability, energy, or privilege to suffer through a game just to beat it. I don't play games to suffer and make myself miserable. I get enough of that already. Either way, as I think it is true for any person, it's hard to want to continue to experience a game when you either suck or hate playing it. Going back a little bit, I know that my lack of experience with platformers is not the only reason why I don't like them. For the most part, I have a really hard time with 2D spaces, as the perspective tends to just kind of mess everything up for me. I struggle to remember where I'm going and where I've been, especially if I'm not being guided to a certain area where I need to go. For the most part, I'm confused and just don't understand what I'm doing. Much like the lady Rasputin lives with, while playing Hollow Knight, I struggle to properly control the character or fight certain enemies. Jumping is hard for me, whether I'm using a controller or a keyboard. It's like I can't get a hang of jumping certain distances. I feel like I have no depth perception at times, and honestly, it makes me feel like shit. It's something so simple that I can't quite seem to master. Compared to my peers, they've had years to master the art of janky jumping mechanics in gaming spaces that were uncomfortable to play in, while kids like me were introduced to games with flowing controls that were easy to master. To say this old style of play is foreign to me is an absolute understatement. As for 3D and first-person platformers, I find them to be a bit easier to control and have a better understanding of the environment I'm in. Some games like Mirror's Edge are also kind enough to highlight where I need to go with certain colors or indicators on the screen. And in general, these 3D spaces are almost always easier to navigate. Jumping in these games, especially first-person games, is much easier as the perspective gives me a much better idea of the space around the player character. And yet, despite that, I just can't quite seem to get into platformers. It feels good to beat a boss, but then I realize that I need to do that several more times, all with varying levels of difficulty when it was already hard enough for me to beat the first boss. The inability to know where I need to go is frustrating, and the jumping aspect of games really angers me. But let me make something really clear. I don't hate these games individually. I just hate playing them. There have been some fantastic platformers over the years, in all kinds of shapes and sizes. I wish I could name all of them, but that would be difficult in and of itself. And let's not forget about some of the classics that my fellow creators grew up with too. But I just have no interest in sucking at these games. I just don't find it worth the time to put myself in a state where my feelings become too overwhelming. In the end, I guess what I'm trying to say is that everyone has their type of preferences for games. I don't like games that frustrate me and make me feel like shit, and I also don't like games that focus solely on gameplay. With a few exceptions, of course. Some people enjoy games that challenge themselves. Others just like story games. Most enjoy games they can just sit back and relax with. Many like playing games with friends. Everyone's gaming preferences should be respected and treated equally. There isn't a prize for beating Dark Souls or The Witness or any game really, unless you're in esports. There's no medal for being a fan of old school platformers. Games have come a long way since they were little pixels, and as more and more people are coming into this space, I think it's time we start embracing different preferences. In short, play games that you enjoy, and don't get bogged down for not playing games that you don't. Hi, thanks for watching. This definitely isn't the video most people were expecting. This script just kind of popped up out of nowhere, and luckily, I was able to write it all down and refine it just enough to make a video on it. So, do you like platformers? What are some of your gaming preferences? Or hell, just let me know your thoughts about this topic and video in the comments below. If you want to talk more about this, hit me up on Twitter. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to leave a like. If you want to support and see more videos from me in the future, please feel free to subscribe. And with that being said, please have a good evening, everyone.